In my presentation today, I will briefly outline the concepts of the verses of the Kesiye Sanjan, and I will also express my opinion on the scholar Alan Williams' work of the Kesiye Sanjan using his threefold model structure of creation, mixture, and separation. The Kesiye Sanjan, also known as the Story of Sanjan, is a Zoroastrian poetic text which contains many different historical events of the early Zoroastrian settlers in India. It was written by Baman K. Kobad in 1599, who was the priest of Sanjana priestly group, and is said to be an account of the history of events by the Parsi ancestors. Parsi was a term used by the locals in Gujarat, India, to refer to the Zoroastrians who had escaped to there after the end of the Sasanian Empire. The story of Kesiye Sanjan can be analyzed and divided into 5 different parts. The first part of the story talks about the account of the journey of the Badins from the province of Khorasan to the land of Hindustan. The second part of the story is the account of Shah Mahmud sending the army for the war against the Prince of Sanjan, and Prince of Sanjan finding out about this. The third part of the story is Ulugh Khan's waging war for the second time against Ardashir after he is defeated by Ardashir in the first war. In the second war, Ulugh Khan wins victory over the Hindu Raja and the Hindu Raja is dead. The fourth part of the story is the Zoroastrians traveling to the hill of Barut after the Raja's death and them going to Banza after. The final part of the story is the account of the bringing of the fire of Bahram from Banza to Nyasri by Changashi, and the fire remains with him after. Religion was brought into light by Zoroaster. He predicted and told the things that would come in the Avesta and said that there will be 3 kings. 3 times the good religions would be broken, and each time the good will be crushed and wounded. The first king that came into existence was King Alexander. He came and burned all of the religion holy books. This was the first sign of chaos. And for 300 years Alexander ruled, and the faith was brought down low until finally Ardashir took sovereignty of it. From King Sharpur until King Yazdagerd, the noble faith was honored and respected. But when the kingship went from Yazdagerd, the infidels took over, and from that time Iran was ruined completely. Zoroastrians then left their lands for the sake of their religion and went to Khohastan, where they stayed for 100 years. One day a wise, virtuous man said he was tired of staying there and fearing the infidels, so he went to the city of Hormuz and stayed there for 15 years. A wise Dastur from that land was a master in the science of stars, and he looked at his old tables of heaven and said that at last they could leave this land because it was the correct time. They all headed towards Gujarat, India on a boat and were struck by a really heavy storm. The Zoroastrians pleaded for Lord Brahman to save them from the storm, and they said that they would light a Brahman fire if they were saved. The Lord heard their prayers, and the winds then died down, and the Zoroastrians were saved and made it safely to the land of Sanjan, where they met a Raja named Jadi Rana. The Zoroastrians asked this man for refuge and told them a little bit of where they came from, and they promised him to adapt to his customs if they were allowed to stay on his lands. And Jadi Rana said they could stay as long as they can prove some things to him and complete the 5 things that he asked of them. The Dastur then found a pleasant land and named it Sanjana, where him and all the Zoroastrians lived happily. They were called Parsis by the locals, so they wouldn't be persecuted for their actual religion. Also, on this land, they set the Brahman fire as they had promised Lord Brahma in the storm if they had been saved. The Zoroastrians lived on this land for 700 years, and the world became distressing to them, and the heavens' fate surrounded their souls, and they were content with their lives. Unfortunately, all this good timing came to an end when the king heard about the Prince of Sanjan. This king's name was Sultan Mahmud, and he had no good intentions. He sent Ulugh Khan with the troops to Sanjan to seize and control the kingdom so he could have it for himself. This battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. With the help of Ardashir, the Zoroastrians defeated the Muslims, and Ulugh Khan fled the land in the first battle. However, the next day, another battle took place between Ulugh Khan and Ardashir, and this time Ulugh Khan defeated the Zoroastrians. Ulugh Khan had 100 men for every man Ardashir had, and there was no way Ardashir could have won the battle. At the climax of the battle, Ardashir was pierced with an arrow through his abdomen, and he died. After this unfortunate battle, where Ardashir died, the Zoroastrians then resided on a hill called Barut for 12 years and brought with them the Iron Shah. With the fire of Brahman, all of the people came to visit Bansta, where they remained for 14 years. People in Bansta received news of their arrival and were told to treat them with affection, and 300 of them riding horses went to greet the group. At this happy time, a faithful layman appeared and became the mayor. His name was Changa bin Asa, and the Brahmin fire then remained with him in Nyasri. I agree with the scholar Alan Williams' threefold model structure of the Kaise Sanjan because evidently the story is constructed this way. The first model is creation, and this is shown when Zoroaster predicts the events from the Avesta. As he said, the three kings ruled, and the good were suffering. First was the invasion by the Arabs, in which they had to leave their lands and look for another place to stay. The second model is mixture, and this is shown in the story when they find a prince named Jadi Rana and mingle with the people of his lands, and the Dastur finds a land for themselves and names it Sanjana. The last model is separation, and this is shown when the Muslims defeat the Zoroastrians in the second battle and only their blood is left on the lands. They are separated from the world, and their souls will reach heaven, while all the evil souls who died in the battle will go to hell.